So today's episode, I'm joined by a fellow Scotsman, Mr. Gavin Bell. I'm sure many of you will have seen him pop up on your Facebook. So welcome, Gavin. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me here, Craig. It's a pleasure.
That's good. I've been watching your stuff for a while, and obviously I've bumped into you a couple of times at different events. But yeah, I think it'd be good. I've not had anyone that's been a Facebook specialist, if you like, on the show, so it's going to be good to pick your brains and find out more about yourself as well and stuff because you've not been in this industry that long, have you?
It's probably, when I first launched the business maybe 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
5, 6 years ago, I was kind of more in the social media management side of things. And then it was probably maybe 4 or so years ago, I decided that I was going to focus purely on the kind of Facebook ads side of things. So in the grand scheme of things, no, it's not been that long.
No, but now, obviously, in the last couple of years, I think your profile has blown up massively. Probably a bit like myself, just talking at all these different events and everything else. But yeah, you've seemed to have just blown up everywhere I look now. It's just Gav Bell, this speaking here, Funnel Academy, this. I'm assuming business is going well for you then.
Yeah, it's quite funny. It's probably you've just been on my website once and I've hammered you with ads for the rest of your life. So it appears like that. No, business is great. So obviously I have the, like you mentioned there, the Funnel Academy, which is a membership program that I launched this year. And on the other side of that, I've got the agency where we do done for you Facebook ad services. So I think the more and more businesses are starting to realize that, advertising, TV, radio, newspaper doesn't work anymore and that they have to finally start advertising online. It's good for me and good for business.
So is it purely Facebook ads you do, or what if someone comes to you and says, "Listen, I fancy a bit of pay per click as well"? Do you dabble in that, or how?
No, it's just purely Facebook. And one of the things that we've like kind of the business has changed slightly over the last few years is, and you've probably experienced something similar in your space working with clients, is people would come to me with wanting Facebook ads help, and they've got a large budget to spend, but things like their funnel, their offer, their website sucks, and I don't want to spend money on something that's fundamentally broken. So we've started to, or I've started to kind of work more on the whole funnel. So how do we take somebody from not knowing who we are, clicking on our ad, all the way through to actually purchasing from us? The Facebook ad part is actually only one small part of that larger journey.
Yeah.
So I've started working with businesses on that larger journey there, just because, like I say, you probably know this yourself, but a business can't just spend money on Facebook or PPC or whatever it may be and expect it to be the golden bullet if they don't have all the other ingredients.
Exactly. It's one of the things I actually stopped doing client work because similar thing. You're inheriting a real bad website, and people are expecting, me to be able to take ownership of, making better landing pages, making a better website, better content, everything else, and it just became a drag. And they weren't really prepared. Not all clients are prepared to pay for that journey as well. And obviously, that's where I think you have to be able to say no to specific types of clients, or step away from certain types of work as well. And I'm assuming you taking ownership of that. The full journey is something you have to do because people, 9 times out of 10, people are coming with some crappy, plan or some crappy funnel, if you like, and you've got to, and they're expecting you just to click a couple of buttons there in Facebook, and in comes all this money.
Yeah, exactly. We work with a lot of local business, and when I say that, I don't mean local to Edinburgh. I just mean they operate within a local area. And one of the they'll often, let's take the example of a private doctor, for example. They'll come to us and they'll say they want more patients. They've got a website. They've had an intern that's been posting on Facebook and tweeting 3 times a day and all this sort of stuff. And they say, right, we want to spend money on Facebook because we believe that Facebook is going to help us get more patients in, because we've heard it. We totally understand that Facebook is a good place to advertise. So you're thinking, okay, that's great. That's good. That's a good starting place. But then their idea of what works is kind of going back to what they've always done, which is probably direct mail, newspaper, TV, radio. And so they expect us to just be able to put up an ad on Facebook with, are you looking, do you have a sore back? Give us a call, and expect it to work, when, I know that that's never going to work. And so what we now do is kind of try and implement a bit of a system for them. So say, right, we'll run the ads, but first of all, we need to build the funnel out on what's the offer going to be at the end of that funnel. Is it a free consultation? Is it a seminar? Is it a webinar? What's it going to be? And then we need to get all the tracking installed in there so we can start seeing how much we're spending per lead and per patient, and trying to bring them through that whole process. Because if you just say, yeah, I'll take your money and run some Facebook ads, you're just scratching the surface. And if you're just scratching the surface, you're never really going to get the results that both you and the client want and need.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's just clients do have crazy expectations and think it is a button pushing exercise. But for anyone else who maybe wouldn't want to use you for Facebook ads as a done for you service, you do provide training and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, so I mean, I've had courses in the market now for, again, a couple of years, and one of the things that I made a massive mistake when I first launched my first course was I built something that I thought the market wanted, which was a course on how to run Facebook ads. But what I quickly realized was, a small business owner doesn't necessarily want to know how to learn Facebook ads from a technical point of view. They want to learn, how do I generate more leads? How do I get more sales? And so that course that I launched, despite spending an enormous amount of time on it, never actually performed the way I wanted it to perform. And so what I decided to do was I would then start to build a community inside a Facebook group. And that community was, I just put an enormous amount of time and effort into it. I did a weekly live call. I would give them, weekly training videos and charge them nothing for it. And also what I did with that was really, really scrutinized everybody that came in. So I made sure that the people coming in were my target audience. So I think I grew the group to about 1,500 people, which isn't enormous, but it was a really high engaged group. And then what I did was I surveyed them and I said, what do you want to learn? Why do you want to learn it? What would it allow you to do if you were to learn this thing? And what method would you like to learn it in? And I think 80% of people came back and said that they would like to learn in a membership monthly payment type idea. And one of the problems that they had with courses and learning was not having somebody to hold their hand as they kind of went through the program. So that's when I decided to launch the Funnel Academy, which is essentially teaching people what I would do for a client, but allowing them to do it themselves. And that's $49 a month. They get access to all the training and support from me, and it's going really well. I tell you, a membership program is a roller coaster of emotions, but it's great fun at the same time.
Yeah, I think you'd need a lot of hard work and dedication to do that, though. I think people think running a group's easy, and you've obviously got, problems with people and stuff like that. But no, it's great that it's working out for you. I think if you've got the right audience and the right type of people in that group and paying you and stuff like that, it can certainly have a massive impact. I know a few guys that have similar types of groups, and they do seem to go well. So I think people, what you're saying there is people sometimes just want their hand held, and they like that social element where they're talking to people in groups and all that kind of stuff as well. I think it's
Totally
not just a case of people just want to read some course and bugger off and that's it, don't talk to you ever again. So you do, it's amazing. I've done a few courses myself, and you launch them just thinking, yeah, I'll launch this and that'll tick all the boxes for everyone, and you come nowhere close to it.
Yeah.
But so no, that's all good and well. I want to talk to you as well about your Facebook videos. I've seen a lot of them recently, and is it me, or are you starting to become funnier now? Are you adding a bit more humour to them now that you're maybe more experienced, more relaxed with it, or have you always been that funny?
I think so. I used to create. I think like before me and you knew each other, I used to create a lot of outdoor Scottish based content,
Hmm.
um, which is a completely different story in itself. But essentially, I would film myself at the weekend going for hikes and whatnot. And I feel like I was able to get a lot of humor into those videos, and they actually did really well on Facebook. So, I was pretty much getting on average about 40,000 views a week, and some videos were hitting like 300,000 views, like crazy numbers. Um, and a lot of people liked the humorous side in those. And I think, what a problem that I had personally was in when creating business content, I felt like I had to be a little bit more serious and professional. That's kind of what we're taught.
Yeah.
And I think just over the space, I mean, just over time of creating video content and seeing what works, I've been able to, take the more humorous side into what I do and put that into the content that I create. And now that I've started to create some of these videos and they've gone down really well, it's like, well, let's actually maybe try and put an emphasis on creating funny stuff. So I'm constantly thinking about like what are situations that happen in business, because it still has to be, related to my target audience. So what are situations that happen in business that we can kind of laugh about? So one of the things that springs to mind is every person that works from home that I've ever spoken to complains that they get distracted by things around the house when they should be working. So that's a perfect opportunity there to create a funny video that's also related to my target audience. So I don't know if I've necessarily become funnier, but I think I've definitely become probably more confident in showing that funny, humorous side when I'm putting content out there.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely the business jargon video. I honestly, I can't stop laughing at that one. It's just the faces and stuff. And there was another one where you were like, you had a towel over your head and you were squealing like a girl. It was really funny as well. Can't remember exactly what you said. It was a couple of months back, but certainly from the outside looking in, they are becoming funnier. And I think, again, I can relate to that as well. And I used to try and be very serious on videos, and now I'm just, I just do any crazy shit. And I think adding a bit of humour or character to it certainly worked very well for me when it comes to videos. And I can certainly see that having the same effect as you. But on that note, obviously I seen your troll the other day, saying if I see you again, or whatever it was, don't want to see your face again, blah 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 blah. Was that your first experience with real trolling, or do you get that regularly?
Um, so I've had a lot of trolls in the past, again with the Scottish based content, because I was getting so many views on those. They were attracting like a lot of hate, as well as a lot of nice comments, but just a lot of crap as well. So I've been there and experienced the hate stuff. I wouldn't say I've really had much from my kind of business orientated content. So that was probably the first really bad, as in like actual hate comment that I got, where the guy was basically said, I'm snobby, I come across as better than other people, and if I got hit by a bus, he wouldn't bat an eyelid, which is very nice of him. So yeah, that's probably the first from a business perspective, but I feel like I've got a tough skin because of my exposure to the hate and the trolls during the Scottish stuff.
So it's not going to put you off making more funny videos.
No, not at all. I mean, in fact, like when I got that comment, instead of being like, "Oh man," like taking it negatively, I was actually like, "Okay, how can we turn this into something funny?" Because the guy, the guy that commented it was not necessarily the smartest looking person, shall I say? And I mean, that was kind of, you could see that in his spelling and grammar. So I was like, well, how can we turn this into a positive? Do we And so I turned it into I got my designer to turn it into like an inspirational quote. And it's funny, every time I do get a troll comment, I screenshot it and I share it across all my social media platforms. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And those posts are always the ones that have the most engagement. So what's quite funny is this guy left a comment saying he didn't like my video, didn't want to see me, whatever. But by him commenting on it, it then got a few other people commenting on it. So the video got more exposure. I then screenshotted it, shared it across all the different platforms, and amassed over 100 comments on Facebook and the other ones. And so this guy's one comment has got me a hell of a lot more exposure than if he had never commented on the first place, which I find quite funny.
Yeah, no, I think you're definitely handling it in the right way. I've suffered similar in the past, and I'm the type of guy.
Really bad, have you not?
I let it get me down slightly at the start, but I think you just have to laugh it off, and I think it's hard not to take it personally sometimes. But I think the way you're handling it is a hell of a lot better than I had previously handled it, and obviously for anyone else out there listening who does get that kind of thing, don't let it put you off. Keep going, keep doing what you're doing. As you say, you can turn it into a positive, and I'm pretty sure you would probably say that 70 or 80% of the comments that you do get are people just laughing and having a joke with you and enjoy the content anyway. There's always going to be an element of people who don't like your jokes or are jealous that you can maybe make a joke on camera or whatever it is.
Yeah,
But
and I
that's
think
great.
I think that's an important point to make, which is, and I'm guilty of this, is you'll post a video and you might get, you know, 20 positive comments, but you'll only focus on the one negative comment.
Yeah.
So you get the one negative comment, you'll spend half an hour researching this person, feeling crap about it. Whereas when you get the positive comments, you just kind of brush them off. I mean, it's human nature to do that, but we need to remember that, the people that are leaving these hate comments are uh, typically, sad themselves. And so, like with this guy that left this comment for me, I genuinely felt sorry for him, because for him to see a video of mine, which wasn't even a promotional video in the slightest, it was a clip from a podcast of mine, and to take the time out of his day to leave such a horrible comment like that, that guy's obviously got some sort of issues for him to do that. So, I feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah. I think probably it is one of those situations where they do have underlying issues. But on to more positive stuff. I want to talk to you a bit more about your videos and everything else that you're getting out. So, would I be right in saying that you work from home, and all of these videos and everything else that you're making are all done by yourself, or do you have like a videographer?
So yeah, I work from home. So I've got the home office set up, and when I moved into here a few months ago, basically kitted it out with all the kind of equipment that I would need to ensure that I can create really good video content from here. I have had a videographer in the past actually, but we made a decision to stop that, and now I do all the filming myself. But I do have a podcast editor and a video editor that I just send all the content to, and then also somebody that does a bit of content repurposing too.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I film a video, they'll turn it into a blog post, and they do all my promotion. So, essentially, once I've filmed a video or recorded a podcast, then I don't see it until it starts getting promoted on the newsfeed.
It's a nice way of working. I was curious to know if you did outsource elements of it and stuff like that, because obviously, again, from the outside looking in, you either work like an absolute dog, doing this stuff, or you've got a good team round about you, or you cleverly, have people doing various bits and bobs for you, which is, again, I think people think rattling through videos, which you're doing, is simple, easy. It's nowhere near as easy as you may have it looking. I'm assuming there's outtakes when you're trying to do funny videos, and you balls it
Oh
all
yeah.
up and all that as well. So that's it. I think you're doing You're doing a lot of work there, or what seems to be a lot of work, and as you say, repurposing bits of it and putting it, snippets out here, there, and everywhere. So obviously that all has a positive impact on your business. But on the speaking side of things, obviously we spoke at an event, I think it was Milan last year, which I'm going to again next week. Are you still doing as much public speaking, or are you trying to maybe move focus to more videos? What are you finding works well? Because I'm asking for personal gain. I've done a lot of actual speaking conferences again this year, and my plan for next year is I probably don't have to travel the world. I can probably get a lot of content out there doing what you do, just doing the video thing and Facebook promotion and stuff like that. So what would your advice be on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I last year did a lot more speaking gigs than I have done this year, and that was kind of a conscious change for me. Really, because I found I was spending a huge amount of time traveling and going to conferences, and not actually seeing, if I'm bluntly honest, not actually seeing a return on investment from that. Because for me, I know everybody's different here, but for me, when I'm speaking on stage, I like to try and have a really well polished. Like I do a lot of prep in my talk, so I spend an enormous amount of time on speaking. And if I'm not speaking to my perfect audience, or I'm not getting paid a fee to speak, then there needs to be a compromise. And so I've decided this year, I did decide this year to stop doing as much speaking gigs. And one thing that's working really well for me actually is, and this hasn't really been a conscious effort for me to try and get more of these, but it just seems to have landed on my lap. I don't know if it's maybe because I'm producing more video, is online memberships and online communities asking for me to speak to their members over Zoom.
Yep.
And hosting an online workshop and online talk. And what I found with these is they're willing to pay, quite typically.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not willing to pay, then you can turn them down, but you can very much see that, do they have the audience that you want to be in front of or not. So I'm finding that there's more and more of these workshops and online speaking opportunities, and I'm not talking about online video summits and those types of things. I'm talking about like specific organizations or membership sites coming to me and saying, we want to run a Facebook ads workshop for our members. Our members are all local businesses, clinics. We're willing to pay you this for this. It'll be half an hour with 10 minutes Q&A at the end. And I'm like, perfect. I can literally come into my office, sit like I am right now, set my mic up. I don't have to do any traveling. I don't really have to do any preparation for it either. And I'm getting the same benefit, if not more, than, if I was to say travel to Albania to do a talk and take 3 days out of the office plus all the preparation time. So that's definitely something that's working for me right now.
Yeah, no, it's something I'm definitely considering going forward for next year, because obviously I'm always last to put in my slides, and I find the whole preparation thing, it's a pain in the ass. Like, I can talk about digital marketing, things can just roll off my tongue and I can talk for Britain, but it's the whole putting slides together and the travelling, sitting about in hotels, and it's for the sake of half an hour on a stage or whatever it may be. And it's not, as you say, it's not always lucrative, but I was curious to know, because you do you do a hell of a lot more video than me, and I've heard a few other speakers that I'm friends with say, you know what, I'm going to just invest money and time into the Facebook ads type of thing, because certainly my audience is worldwide, and I'm sure yours is the same. And you don't always have to focus in the UK. You can get cheap Facebook ads in
totally
any other countries. I can put. So I'm speaking in India in a couple of weeks, but I've been running some campaigns out in India, and the amount of clicks I'm getting for what I'm spending, is outrageous. And I just wanted to touch on that side of things, going back to Facebook with you. Do you find that, you can get, or can you share some of the best places where you can get some real good traction for a real low cost in Facebook? Because obviously everyone obsesses over the UK, and obviously the cost of that's always going to be, what it is, and stuff like that. But is there any kind of cheap tips, if you like, that you can give from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so Facebook works on an auction. So essentially, if we're talking about locations, the countries are the places that have the most other people advertising in or targeting towards is going to be more expensive. So, US, UK, Canada, all these types of places are going to be far more expensive than if you're to go out to the likes of India, purely based on the auction. So, I mean, some people, I'm maybe not necessarily the biggest fan of doing this, but a lot of people will, if they're running Facebook ads, will serve their ads to the likes of India to get social proof on the ads, likes, comments, etc., before then moving that ad over to the UK or the US or wherever they're going.
Yeah.
I'm not really the biggest fan of doing that personally, and I'd much rather do what you're doing, which is if you're actually going out to speak in India, so we're going to target ads there to try and almost build a bit of a brand there before you go. I mean, that makes total sense to me. In terms of getting the cheapest bang for your buck when it comes to um, Facebook ads, still and still the best thing to do is simply create video content. So, for example, when I promote my podcast, what I'll do is I will take a segment from the podcast. It might be a 1 minute, 30 second, and that's actually my editor will do that. So when they get the podcast, I'll ask them to just pick out a 1 minute, 30-second segment, whatever it may be, from it. They'll then turn that into a square video with captions and all that fun stuff. And then we'll use that video to promote the longer podcast. So it'll be a 30-second segment. Hopefully, ideally it'd be something that's kind of funny, captures people's attention.
Yeah.
And what you'll find is because you're promoting something, a podcast, because it's free, and the actual ad that's promoting it is also a good piece of content, you're going to get a ton of video views on that, which then allows you to retarget all those people, which again is going to be super cheap. And you're also going to get super cheap clicks going to your podcast because the content that you're putting out there is, first of all, free, and the ad itself is also classed as free content. And if you then you're just a little bit smart about your targeting there as well, and say that you're only targeting people that are on mobile, that are Apple users, and they're currently on Wi-Fi, then you're going to get even cheaper because those people are prime condition for listening to a podcast there and then.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes down to cost on Facebook, yeah, you can go out to different countries and things, but nothing beats good creative. And if you can create, I always say, what works on paid is essentially what works on organic. So if you can create something that works well organically, you can just add fuel to the fire by putting paid behind it. So creative is always going to be the most important thing. So little short, funny videos I found tends to be the best.
And finally, before you go, in terms of creating these funny things, videos or whatever, did you ever get training for that, or does that all come naturally, or do you watch someone in particular to try and better yourself at this stuff?
That's a really good question. I've never had training in it. I did once, in a bid to get out of my comfort zone, because I'm a massive fan of just trying different things to get out of my comfort zone. I did go to an acting class for a couple of sessions. I don't think that's really had an impact on my videos, but that's something I have done. I have considered maybe trying like stand up as well, just to try that. I think, in fact, this is an interesting story to this, which is all of the videos. Like I was absolutely terrible at video when I first started. You can go back to my first video on YouTube and see how bad it is. And I've now been creating video pretty consistently for like 4 or 5 years, and even to this day. So maybe a month ago, I filmed a video in my head that I thought was quite funny, which is the memes that are like what I think I do, what my mum thinks I do, what society thinks I do. I tried to create a video version of that, and once I sent it to my editor, we realized it was crap. Like it was so bad, it just wasn't funny at all, and so we scrapped it. And so even to this day, I'm trying to film things and I'm sending it to the editor, or I like the girlfriend test is always a good one. Like, does the girlfriend laugh at it or not? And we'll scrap it if it's not funny. I think where most people kind of hold themselves back from is they put so much pressure on themselves to try and be funny or to try and be a certain way that it means they just don't create because they're too scared that they're not going to achieve that.
Yeah.
Whereas I've kind of got the philosophy of, I'll try be funny or I'll try be whatever, we'll create it. And you know what? If it's rubbish, it's fine. Scrap it. No one needs to see it. But, if it is relatively funny, then we'll put it out. And you know what? If nobody engages with it, then that's fine. We just move on to the next piece.
That's a good philosophy to have. And as I say, if you can't laugh at yourself and stuff like that, then who can you laugh at? But as I say, you're doing great work. I think it's, for whatever it's worth, I think some of them are really funny.
Thank you.
I've showed a few other people and they're like, man, that's not funny, that's terrible. But but as I say,
one person does.
Yeah, as long as someone's finding it funny, I'm sure. They've asked me. You've got a massive following online, and you always see people laughing at them. So now, as I say, keep up the good work. I've certainly seen from the outside looking in a definite improvement, and as I say, more confidence and stuff like that. So do keep up the good work. But thank you very much for coming on and sharing some tips and a bit about yourself. If anyone wants to hook up with you, ask you advice, join one of your stuff, where's the best place for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, best place is just head over to my website, which is mrgavinbell.com, and you'll get links to everything there. And if you want to actually send a message, then Instagram's probably the best, and it's just at Mr. Gavin Bell again.
Cool, Gavin. Well, thank you very much, as I say, and I will catch up with you soon.
Yeah, I hope to see you in person soon.
Cheers.